Hey, church family, I wanted to take this opportunity to present you with another word of encouragement as we continue to pray for the outcome of this election. Now, as we continue to watch the election controversies unfolding right before our very eyes, I have no doubt that Americans on both sides of the aisle are frustrated by this extremely troubling situation. And while there are many reasons for our frustrations, it's important for us to remember that this election was destined to be scrutinized from Jump Street, just simply due to the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic has clearly affected the way that we normally vote. This has been completely abnormal. You might not know this, but this is actually the first time that the District of Columbia, as well as 9 states here in America, automatically sent out ballots ahead of the election to every registered voter in their area. Now think about the issue that this presents. Think about the problem with this, especially in light of the fact that on average, only 55% of registered voters here in America actually vote. What this means is that the states that automatically mailed out ballots to 100% of their registered voters, they were simultaneously running the risk of producing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of ballots, which could end up being used by someone other than the actual voter. And that being the case, you would think that the states that decided to automatically send out ballots to 100% of their registered voters would also want to take extra measures just to make sure that the ballots they were receiving were actually sent from the registered voter. At the same time, listen, nobody should be surprised by the fact that many Americans are questioning the integrity of this election, especially in light of the states that decided to send out 100% ballots to everyone that is registered to vote. We shouldn't be surprised, that we're all concerned about the many reports of voter irregularities. And we shouldn't be surprised to learn that it was just yesterday, Monday, November the 9th, when Attorney General William Barr authorized U.S. attorneys across our country to pursue substantial allegations of voting irregularities before the 2020 election is officially certified. According to Barr, inquiries and reviews may be conducted if there are clear and apparently credible allegations of irregularities that, if true, could potentially impact the outcome of a federal election in an individual state. And so, listen, we ought to be praying for this investigation. We ought to be praying for, if there is voter fraud, that it would be exposed. Sadly, though, many Americans are angry about this investigation. For example, Barr's decision immediately prompted the resignation of Richard Pilger. And just to be clear, Richard Pilger was the Justice Department's top prosecutor for election crimes. Now, you would think that the Justice Department's top prosecutor for election crimes would be super excited. It's game day for him. This would be so exciting for him to go in and spend time investigating all of the allegations of voter fraud. You would think that the Justice Department's top prosecutor for election crimes would gladly go and prosecute every case that he found. Nope. He resigns. He resigned from that position. At the same time, listen, affidavits are rolling in from all over the country which are alleging election fraud. This includes a postal worker in Pennsylvania who claims that his supervisors had a plan to backdate ballots mailed after the election. There's also a whistleblower in Nevada who has accused Clark County election supervisors of counting mail-in ballots despite a series of concerns with signatures on them. Then there's the poll worker in Detroit who's accused his supervisors of directing all of the poll workers there in Detroit to adjust the mailing date of absentee ballot packages to be dated earlier than they were actually sent. Now, it's important for us to remember that these are only accusations, and as accusations, they could be proven false. And even if the investigations result in the prosecution of those who are actually engaging in voter fraud, listen, this doesn't mean that there's enough fraud to change the Electoral College outcome. It's completely possible that Barr's investigation will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Joe Biden is in fact our president-elect. And if so, every Christian from both sides of the aisle ought to be praying for him as he begins to lead our nation over the next 4 years. At the same time, though, listen, Barr's investigation might truly uncover the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. And if so, then I would think that the people on both sides of the aisle would want to know if this election was rigged. Listen, if Trump or Biden is guilty of trying to rig this election, I want to know. And you should want to know. And it's my prayer that every fraudulent vote is exposed so that we can be confident in the results, regardless of the outcome. Finally, I would encourage you to take comfort in the fact that we serve a God who is seated on the throne, regardless of who is in the White House. And therefore, we don't have to be overly frustrated with all of these things. I can't help but to remember something that King David wrote in Psalm chapter 2. There he declares, "Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision." Christian, listen. At the end of the day, the Lord is the one who rules over the nations of men. And so we don't have to be concerned. We don't have to be frustrated. We don't have to be worried about all of these things. The official outcome of this election is in the Lord's hands. And it's for this reason that we should simply be ready to pray for those who lead this nation, knowing that they're eventually going to be held accountable in the highest court there in heaven. With that being the case, let's continue to pray for the leaders of our nation, and let's pray that the Lord will raise up the right leaders according to his perfect plan, and we can trust that he will do exactly that. As always, I encourage every Christian, let's continue fighting the good fight of faith, all for the glory of God.